Welcome, folks, to this JMC webinar, New JMC Innovations in Data Collection, Reporting, and More. I'm Jake Vanskoy, and if you were with us last week, you know that you are now joining me live from the IASB trade show. So if you're out at IASB or going to be at IASB, stop on by our booth. We're booth number 500, working on getting set up. Happy hour at 5 o'clock or something like that, but it's always a happy hour when we're joined by Amy Bemis. Amy, do you want to say hi?
Hello, good to be here. I am also headed towards Jake, going to attend the IASB trade show as well. So working my way there from Southwest Iowa.
Fantastic. So today, as an order of business, in addition to refreshing our entire program, the JMC development team has been hard at work updating the current software with several innovations that will make your jobs easier. So today we're going to take a look at some fun new features that streamline student data collection, running reports for front office professionals, food service professionals, health professionals, and more. So kind of a grab bag of all sorts of fun new innovations. If you joined us at our summer conference, you might have heard a little bit about some of these at summer conference. As always, we have our Q&A feature built right into Ring Central. So if you have any questions, go ahead and use that chat feature and Linda will relay them to me and we'll do our best to answer. So let's kick things off with, excuse me, student lists in JMC Office. So one of the problems that we encountered, or our users encountered, excuse me, were the lacking of a versatile method for efficiently mining discipline data and generating those comprehensive discipline reports. So our solution was to add discipline to student lists. So many of you are probably familiar with student lists for mining any and all data in JMC. If you're not familiar with student lists, it's definitely something that you should get familiar with. It's a fantastic tool. And now that tool is just going to get better and better with discipline items being added. So all discipline items have been added to student lists, which will allow you to mine or generate custom reports with specific discipline items all on one page. So if you wanted to see problem behaviors, incidents, anything of those natures, you can pull those on student lists. Another issue that we had dealing with student lists was arranging those student lists. So before, you had to pre-build your list in the order that you wanted to see the information. So there was a need to be able to rearrange items on that list after the report had been generated. But the current system, or I should say the old system, lacked that necessary functionality to accomplish that task easily. So our solution was we innovated a drag and drop and arrow features. So the two new features, the sorting arrows and the drag and drop interface, have been added to that student list data mining tool, which makes the report building easier and much more efficient, helping you save time and add versatility to that tool. So let's take a quick live look at our student lists tool. I'm going to log into my JMC office here. I apologize if you're hearing a whole bunch of background. How is my audio, by the way? I'm not sure. I'm on headphones trying to reduce some of the background noise here as folks are getting set up.
It sounds good.
Awesome. That's great.
Yep, no problem at all. No background noise. You're good.
So I'm under attendance student lists. And I'm going to pull some of those discipline items here. So for those of you that are brand new to student lists, the concept is, if you follow along with the prompts on the screen, step one, what do you want in your report? What information do you want in your report? Most folks start with some common information like name, maybe grade, that sort of thing. But I'm going to go to those discipline items. So if I look on down here in this alphabetized list, I can see discipline. I can click the plus button to expand those discipline, and any and all discipline items are going to be listed on there. So if I wanted to see, maybe discipline problem behaviors, I could select discipline problem behaviors. And now the second innovation that we were talking about here was the ability to sort those. So let's just say I wanted discipline problem behavior and action date, and maybe the Oh, let's see here, the removal date, and maybe the reporter. But let's just say I get over here, like, oh, you know what? I really want that incident reporter first or moved up between grades. So I can either drag and drop now, or I can use these sort arrows or the X arrow to remove this thing. So I can just toggle the item up and down, or use those arrows. So handy little feature for building those reports. In student lists, again, you've got all the discipline items there at your disposal. Great tool. You can save these reports. So if I wanted to save my discipline incidents, I could save that report, and then I can come back and I can run this at a later date, which, allows you, if you've got the report that you want to see, as data is added to JMC or as data gets changed in JMC, you can constantly come back here and rerun this report without having to build it from scratch. We also have the ranges and things like that, but great resource in YouTube on building student lists. If you're interested, check that out. If you're interested in learning more about student lists, but those are just a couple of the new features. So any questions coming through?
I don't see any questions.
Right, wonderful. Moving right along to a couple new innovations here in reports and report management. Sorry, one of the problems was managing scheduled reports. So you probably know in JMC, we have all sorts of scheduled reports, whether they be attendance reports, discipline reports, anything that can be scheduled to be sent to an administrator, front office professional. But as we know, staff turnover and changes in responsibilities frequently result in those alerts and reports being directed to incorrect individuals, which complicates the process of identifying the origin and an intended recipient. So the whole thing is, I've had staff turnover. Now I want the new principal to be receiving these attendance reports. How do I transfer that information, or where do I even go quickly to change those scheduled reports? So our solution is the scheduled report manager. So the scheduled report manager under File, Scheduled Report Manager, lets you easily view and update all scheduled reports on one handy page, making it simple to adjust dates and times or to remove unneeded communication. So you'll see a full list of the folks that are receiving reports in JMC on your Scheduled Report Manager. You can go in and change those reports as needed. Another problem we identified was easily finding student legal names. So office staff face challenges in effectively identifying students in JMC who have listed a preferred name that differs from their legal name, leading to time-consuming manual searches through student records. We'll talk a little bit about those legal names here in the live look, but our solution then is another report. It's the legal and preferred name differences report. This is under edit. The legal and preferred name differences page displays a report of all students with a preferred name that is different from their legal name, saving the users the time by quickly identifying those students without the need to scroll through each record. We'll go into a little bit more here in just a second. Next problem on the list, contacts are not receiving messages. So how do we, if families are reporting that they aren't receiving text messages that are sent from the JMC Message Center, despite everything appearing to be configured correctly for them to receive those messages, we've added the phone number status report in JMC to help identify contacts who have opted out of receiving messages. So ensuring no blame is placed on the school for missed communications, fostering better relationships with those families, because what happens often is part of the FCC requirements are folks that are receiving text messages need to be allowed to opt out of receiving those text messages legally. And sometimes those might be your families, and they might, opt out of text messages in a moment of haste and then realize, what, I should probably be receiving these alerts. And, they get angry that they don't receive those alerts. So just a added tool for schools to be able to identify, what, is this on us or is this on you, families, for opting out of these communications? So we can go to Message Center, phone number status, and we can see all of our users who have opted out of receiving our text messages. So let's take a live look at those 3 reports here. Linda, I'm going to lean on you to remind me specifically which of the 3 reports we're looking for. I believe one was under file, and this is the scheduled report manager, right? Okay, so 1 for 1 so far. So under file, scheduled report manager, this is where we're going to see all of the folks that have signed up to receive, whether they be attendance notifications. So I'll show you kind of an example of where you might set up one of these. So let's go to, where would be a good one? Let's go to discipline reports. Discipline incidents, maybe? No, that doesn't have one. Attendance notification settings. So yeah, here's a daily report that would be sent. So we have these scattered throughout JMC, whether they be for lunch settings or for other data elements that, as things get updated in JMC, we want to receive a report of maybe all students that are absent for a day, or students that have received a discipline referral for a day. We want those all emailed to somebody at the end of the day, so they're in the loop. So we have something like this where you can enter an email address, and then we've got the time of day that they're receiving the calls or the messages or whatever. But now since these are scattered throughout, our scheduled report manager, if somebody's receiving communications, they don't know why they're receiving them, or we needed to make a change, oh, okay, well, we just changed our principal. I don't know where all this principal or what notifications this principal signed up to receive. We can go to File, Scheduled Report Manager, and we can edit, or we can remove, if this principal isn't supposed to receive this report, we can remove that principal from receiving that report as well. The second, yes, was there a question?
There is a question. Bob Anderson has asked, can the scheduled report manager send a report that we have built in student lists?
Student list. You can schedule a report in student lists. So this is attendance student lists. And I believe we can schedule an email from a report that we've built. So let's just say discipline incidents. I'll go back to that report that we just built. We want to schedule an email to be sent, maybe for this discipline incidents report, to this user weekly or daily, and we can set up the time. So let's go daily at starting today. What day is today? Today's the 20th, right? We're going to start today at 3 p.m. And this report is going to be sent now to Jay Vanskoy. So I can schedule this report right there in student lists. And now this is going to email me every day at 3 o'clock whenever, there's a new discipline incident. And now I can manage that under scheduled report manager. So you can see my student list report there that I just created starting today at 3 p.m. I don't really want to receive this, so I'm going to delete it. So this report just allows you to manage all of those different scheduled alerts or scheduled messages that you might be receiving as an administrator. So great question, Bob. That's a great way to actually intertwine 2 of the innovations that we're talking about today. So the second innovation is the legal and preferred name differences report. So this is just a report identifying any student that's listed in JMC that has a preferred name that differs from their legal name. So just going to show you just very, very high level. We also have a YouTube video on legal and preferred names. If you take a look at the name that's on your view student data page, listed right here at the top, the last name, first name, middle name, this is what we would call the preferred name. So if a student is named Lucas, but they prefer to go by Luke, you could name that student Luke, We're going to save it. And then maybe this would be under the sensitive tab. We can include their full legal name. So Amber is the last name, Lucas is the legal first name, and the legal middle name, Kim. And we can save that. So now we have a student that has a preferred name that's going to show up in the grade book. It's going to show up in JMC Office. It's going to show up in JMC Student, and JMC Family. However, for state reporting purposes, we can identify this student by their legal first name and last name. So if we ever have an incident where, or an instance where a student's legal name differs from their preferred name, there was a time where we'd have to go to that sensitive tab, keep an eye out here, and just start scrolling for our students to see which ones had a legal preferred name difference. And now I could use that student list report and pull up that legal name, and I could identify the students that have a legal name that's different from a preferred name. Sorry. But this report on the edit legal and preferred name differences page, this allows us to identify those students very quickly just with a click there. So any questions on, and there's our Luke Amber that we just changed right there. So any questions on our legal and preferred name differences?
I don't see any questions.
Okay, and gosh, it feels like 10 minutes ago since I've been to the, what was the third report? Was it Message Center? So the phone number status report. Yeah, that's what it was, right? So this is the third report innovation that we're talking about today. Under Message Center, it's the phone number status report. And this is going to give you a list of families that have opted out of receiving text messages. So as is legally required by the FCC, students or families must be given the opportunity to opt out of receiving text messages. And if they have, you know, this is most likely you're getting a complaint from a family that didn't receive a communication that you sent via text message that they feel that they should have received. You know, you look in JMC, you look under attendance, contacts, edit contacts, you can see that they have a phone number, an email address, you know, a phone number that it's marked for receiving text messages, that it's a cell phone. Everything looks correct, and you're kind of at a loss, like, oh, why isn't this person receiving messages? Message Center phone number status might be an answer to that question. If they have opted out, that could very well be the reason. If they want to opt back in, they would have to reply yes to the message that the last message that was sent. You should be able to see this would be under file, is it admin options? Phone dialer settings. They would have to search for the phone number that's listed here. And that's where the text message is going to come from. So any questions about the innovations in our reports?
I don't see any questions, Jake.
Thanks, Linda. Moving on to our next set, we've got lunch, tuition fees, and health. Amy, by the way, yeah, Amy's in on this too. Amy, if you have anything to add to any of this stuff, I've just kind of been rattling on. I've gotten on a roll. If you have anything to add so far, please chime in.
You're doing great, Jake. I'm just laughing because you're just on a roll, and that's great. I'm just taking it all in.
Oh, we're letting it fly. We're fired up for IASB, you know.
We are
I'm
ready.
in this nice, beautiful arena here. So yeah, I promise I will let you talk during lunch and tuition and fees and health. So first problem
that
that we
I have the
encountered.
least experience in.
Yes, of course. Amy Bemis, former counselor. You know, you've got a little experience with everything, don't you?
I'm gaining experience. That's all we're going to say.
There we go. There we go. Food service professionals need to see restricted purchases. So there's no easy way for lunch staff to generate a list of allowed or restricted purchases for all students in JMC Office. So the solution the allowed purchases list. So now with just a few clicks in JMC Office, you can print a list of allowed or restricted purchases for all students, ensuring compliance and helping lunch staff prevent unapproved purchases, leading to smoother lunch service and happier students. So this is under lunch reports, allowed purchases, this list. And we'll kind of briefly show where those purchases are allowed and disallowed here in just a second. Another problem that we've encountered, families need an efficient way of making online payments. So families encountered challenges in making payments towards student lunch accounts and tuition and fee accounts due to the lack of convenient and hassle-free method. So our solution, managing recurring payments in JMC Family. So a quick link on the right-hand side in JMC Family. The managing recurring payments quick link in JMC Family's lunch and tuition and fees module makes it easy to set up automatic payments, update credit card information, and schedule payments, helping balances get paid on time by simplifying the process for families. And this is something that if you are not doing as a school, something that you should highly consider, just because I know every food service professional wants to balance that budget sheet at the end of the year or the term or the month or whatever it might be. And the best way to do so is to provide multiple methods for your families to send those payments in. If it's convenient, they're more likely to do it. Recurring payments is a convenient way to send those payments into JMC. Another problem, keeping health professionals in the loop on enrollment changes. So one of the questions that we received, or the requests that we received, was nurses lacked a system to alert them when a student moved or transferred out of the school, leading to difficulties in managing medication inventory and potential errors in administering medications. So, I just play this out. This is maybe something that Amy can weigh in on. We have a kid that leaves unexpectedly. There's a lot of moving parts as far as, we have to communicate this with our front office staff. We have to communicate this with teachers. Administrators need to know. We have to have all the proper state reporting information filled out, the enrollment information, all of that. And, lo and behold, somebody gets left out. And usually it's a lot of our support staff, lunch folks, health professionals. So now our health professional might be expecting an appointment for a student, and that student no longer goes to school. So our solution was a medication appointments alert. So a new alert on the medication appointments for a day page prompts the nurse to remove a student's appointments and adjust inventory when they are dropped or deactivated, enhancing that communication between front office and your healthcare professionals, and ensuring that health professionals are able to maintain accurate medication inventory effortlessly. Probably not going to be able to show this one live, but this is the alert that you will receive right from that medication appointments for a day page. So let's take a live look at some of those lunch, tuition and fees, and health updates, starting with our lunch reports. So we're under lunch reports, and we're going to take a look at allowed purchases. So I've got a few different options here. I choose just my allowed purchases, just my restricted purchases, and I can include a contact email on that. So if I want to see just a list of what the kids can't have, I can preview, sort that order by last name. And this just gives me a list that I can print off and hand to that person at the front of the lunch line. So they have a quick cheat sheet to see, all right, Judy McElmurray is not supposed to have these items once he goes through the lunch line. And of course, these items are set up under, see here, lunch data, the edit student lunch data. And we have this allowed purchases tab. So you'd find your kiddo, click allowed purchases, and then you could actually choose the items, the specific items. If they're allowed the items, you'd have the check mark in here. If they're not allowed the item, you'd remove the check mark and click save. So Amy, anything to add to that, or any questions around the lunch report?
We do have a question from Ashley Seedorf. Do schools have to opt into reoccurring payments for lunch? And she says, I was just looking at my family JMC account and I don't see that as an option.
Right, that is an excellent question. Amy, go ahead and add anything that you would like to that. While I take a look at where this would be.
Had to get myself unmuted there, sorry. Like you said, Jake, I'm not real skilled in that. I'm just gonna go back though and comment on how nice it is to have that notification for the nurse, because like you said, it's real hard. You have really good intentions of letting everyone know, keeping everybody in the loop when a student moves, but you invariably miss somebody. So I think features like that built into JMC are a huge help.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So back to the lunch settings question here. So under online payments, so I didn't know if this was at the building level or the district level. I think this is eventually going to be at the district level. This is under online payments, online payment settings, lunch settings. We do have the lunch payment settings. You can enable online lunch payments. You can allow recurring lunch payments, and that's really what you're going to want there is the allow recurring lunch payments. And I noticed that that is an unlocked feature. I know that we set up convenience fees and minimum deposits, maximum deposits. We set that up on our end for tech support. So I would have you reach out either through our widget. You can just go in and send us a message, or you can email support@jmcinc.com and let them know that you would like to enable online lunch payments for your families and allow recurring lunch payments for families, and we can help you get that set up. So Ashley, great question. Yes, that is something that you would have to enable, and then your families would be able to see it. Let's see here, find my spot. So yeah, clicking on that same note, our online, our recurring payments. I'd have to take a moment to log into a family site to be able to see this once it is enabled. If there are any other questions, please let them rip. I'm going to go into see family. Let's go for we're spinning. Okay, so now in JMC family, we head over to lunch. There's a quick link on the right-hand side. So that's your manage recurring payments. You'd have to enable auto payments, and then we can enable auto payments for lunch. The recurring payments also allows you to set up recurring payments. So if we have large tuition fees, let's say, $1,000 tuition fees that need to be paid over a year's time, and you wanted to set it up so that they could pay $100 increments or whatever, your families can manage those recurring payments on this page as well. So would be under tuition and fees. Of course, a fee would have to be made. Enabled to make those recurring payments on. So there's more on that in our tuition and fees YouTube video, but that just gives you kind of a brief insight as to how that would all work. I thought there was a third thing too. What was the third thing that we looked at? Oh yeah, the medication page, the thing that that Amy was mentioning earlier. And it's a thing that I'm not going to be able to show you live, but we can see if it works. This would be under health. see here, what is it? Medication, medication appointments for a day. There we go. So it would be if there had been a student that had dropped, they would pop up on this page. So this is where your health professional would go to manage their medication appointments for a day. This is where they quickly see all of the students that are expected to receive an administration of medication. If they receive it, they get that green check mark. But then if a student had missed an appointment, or I'm sorry, if a student had dropped out of school or had transferred out or whatever, that alert would show up notifying them that the student that was on this list is no longer there. So any questions? Are we ready to move on to the next set?
Looks like there's no questions, Jake.
Right. Teacher conference scheduler. Couple of innovations to our teacher conference scheduler. First, the problem of improved management of teacher conferences. The teacher conference scheduler in JMC Family displayed teachers who were not supposed to participate in conferences, leading to confusion among families and frustration for staff due to unnecessary appointments being made. Our solution was to include or exclude specific teachers from conferences. So office staff can now exclude specific teachers who are not involved with teacher conferences, so they no longer appear on the teacher conference scheduler at all, avoiding confusion and resulting in more precise scheduling. Another problem, communicating virtual conferences. Teachers face challenges in effectively communicating conference formats to families, leading to confusion and uncertainty regarding whether conferences were in person or virtual. So the solution to that was the new virtual option in the room drop-down list in JMC Teacher, letting teachers specify conference formats, improving communication and strengthening school-to-family relationships by clearly informing families when signing up. Nothing more frustrating than showing up to a conference that was not supposed to be in person. So we can take a live look at a couple of the updates that are in our teacher conference scheduler. Tell you what, my little Ring Central bar is right in the way of everything that I want to access up top here. So I need to get that out of the way. I don't think you guys can see that little bar, but I can. So teacher conference scheduler. Amy, if you have anything to add about this teacher conference scheduler, it's pretty handy if you haven't used it. Under teacher
Sure
conference schedule.
Go ahead, sorry.
Settings page. No, go for it here.
I was just agreeing with you. I was supporting you.
I appreciate that. Did you guys use the teacher conference scheduler at your school?
We did not, but they were looking into it, I think, just this fall. So I think they were going to check it out.
Something that they're going to possibly start. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So the first place I'm going to take you would be under the settings page. So teacher conference scheduler settings. And did you guys have scheduled conferences, or was it kind of a free for all? Teachers are in their rooms, and when families show up, they can kind of, mill around and be where they want.
They weren't super structured. We did get into a combination of virtual and in person. So I really like that this virtual option's been added on here, because that was confusing. So that's a great feature that will really help people out, I think.
Yeah, the school that I was at, we kind of went back and forth. Schools are always trying to find the way of increasing participation at conferences. And, we talked about, is it better just to have folks pop into the building? Is it better to schedule conferences? Is it, can we do
Right.
some sort of a hybrid? So
Mhm.
if your school is considering scheduling conferences, using the teacher conference scheduler is a way to do so. This is under the settings tab of the teacher conference scheduler. And I'm just going to click on teachers just to kind of show you the different ways that these conferences can be configured. So students can have conferences with teachers if they have a course with that teacher, or if that teacher is listed as an advisor. If the teacher is not listed as an advisor and they don't have a course assigned to them, they can't be a part of conferences. And that new innovation, let's say if a teacher did have a course, but you did not want students to or families to sign up for a conference with that course, let's just say physical education. You know, we don't want our PE teacher who teaches all kids K through 12 to have 190 scheduled conferences. We want to exclude them from the teacher conference scheduler. Under attendance, staff, teachers, we can remove this conferences check mark from them, and those teachers would not be included in the conference scheduler. We have another way of doing this as well, but this is tied to courses. So this is under schedules course, edit course data. And typically how our conferences would be scheduled would be if we wanted that course to be included in teacher conferences, we would have this checked here. So, you know, a lot of elementary folks schedule, you know, 5 courses, but the 5 courses are all with the same teacher. It's their homeroom teacher. And since that homeroom teacher is listed as an advisor, we don't want that homeroom teacher to appear 5 times on a student's conference schedule. So we can just remove the course so that they're no longer listed on there. So any questions? I could pop into the JMC teacher and show you that virtual real quick.
I don't see any questions, Jake.
So I'm going to go to teacher conference scheduler as a teacher here. I can schedule conferences as well, or here is that virtual option under room. And then when I email families or when families are emailed from the office to let them know that, hey, here's your conference schedule set. It's going to include the room in there, and that will be included. If the room is virtual, be included here. Another nice thing that I like to point out is this comment section. If the conference is virtual, if you have a link to, say, your Zoom meeting or your Google Meet or whatever it is, whatever platform you're using for virtual conferences, you can include that link in the comment section. That's going to show up on that email as well. Trucking right along here. If there aren't any questions, streamlined data collection and entry. So the problem, collecting digital equity data from year to year. Encouraging families to provide digital equity data annually provides challenging or proves challenging, particularly when their status remains unchanged from the previous year. So our solution was an import of digital equity from the prior year. So JMC now lets you import last year's digital equity status for faster state reporting, eliminating the need for families to re-enter that data annually unless there were changes, and of course, making it less effort on your family side, making it less of a hassle on the office side to try to wrangle your families to enter that digital equity data. Amy, did you have any experience with families having to enter digital equity data? This was kind of a thing that was brought up more during 2020 and 2021, kind of that COVID transition there. Was that something that was a part of your, did you draw the duties of wrangling those families with that?
I did not personally, no, but I mean, that becomes a bigger challenge. It did over, you know, the course of the last however many years, but that was not something I was directly involved in, no.
Sure. So, you know, states kind of go back and forth on whether they want families to be able to import digital equity data. Essentially, there's a series of questions that, depending on what state you're in, they ask, you know, do you have access to internet? If so, what type of internet do you have access to? Do you have device access? For many families, that doesn't change from one year to the next, but you still need to report that information from one year to the next. So this import, it's under attendance, student, import digital equity from prior year. It is student data, so it is on that view student data page. It gets pulled over automatically. I don't think we're going to live look that, but you know, it's just a handy piece there. This was something that our front office staff rejoiced about a couple years ago. I think this innovation is actually 2 years old now, but marking multiple students absent for multiple days. So previously there was no streamlined method for marking multiple students absent for multiple days, which required tedious manual entry of each student and each absence, and thus led to an inefficiency. Our solution was adding the multiple option in period attendance. So if you see a couple new radio buttons up here, we've got the multiple radio button, which allows you to select multiple students from multiple days, which is handy if you have a group of students that are gone 3 consecutive days for state wrestling, or if you have a family that's gone on vacation and they have 5 kids, which you got a family with 5 kids. I don't know how you're taking a multi-day vacation. I would need a multi-day vacation away from the 5 kids, but that's just me personally. Take a live look at that multiple day piece there. So this is under period attendance, data, edit attendance. Of course, this is the multiple. Essentially how this works is you've got your students over here. You've got the days that they're going to be gone. So if you just had one student that was going to be gone for multiple days, I could click and drag and highlight those multiple days. Or if I had multiple students, let's say the Anderson kids are going to be gone multiple days, I could choose the absence reason and say this was family vacation. So I got my 2 Anderson kids that are gone for 5 days, and rather than having to mark those 2 kids for each of those days, that's about 30 clicks we just saved right there. So maybe not 30, that's a little excessive, but questions coming through?
I don't see any questions.
Any comments to add to the multiple days? Linda, you worked in the front office, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Did
So
you
yes,
do any
that-
attendance stuff?
Oh, yes, all the time. So that multiple will be awesome. That will save a lot of time.
Cool, cool. All right, nearing the end of this thing. Improve JMC office and JMC teacher collaboration. So the problem, inconsistent use of CBG and JMC teacher. This is one that my friend Brian Wall and I enjoy the most, I think. Teachers in schools are individually setting those competency-based grading proficiency scales, which leads to inconsistency and an increased likelihood of errors, and not to mention some wasted time for teachers. So the solution, default CBG results. So now office staff can set CBG results. They can set up their proficiency scales under grading utilities, teacher grade cutoffs, and CBG results, streamlining the process of setting up those competency-based grade books, centralizing this task so you have the same description, the same color, the same name, the same value for everybody, and then your teachers simply import those default results from JMC teacher. So I'll show you very quickly a live look of this in JMC office. For those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, if you're headed down the path of standard-based grading and you're curious about what JMC offers as far as standard-based grading, gradebook innovations, this would be tied to that. That's our competency-based grading platform. The piece that we're talking about is under grading utilities. It's teacher grade cutoffs and CBG results. I'm just going to scroll to the part of the page where this is. So very similarly to how we used to define our grade cutoffs. So in a percentage-based system, like a 93% would be an A, and so on and so forth. In a standard-based system where we use a 4-3-2-1 scale, we need a way to communicate what does a 4 mean, what does a 3 mean, what does a 2 mean, is that good, is that bad, how do we want to communicate that information? So we do that through descriptions, and we do it through colors and names and values. And in JMC teacher on our grade book, our competency-based grade book, under our defined formative assessment page, we used to have to define this ourselves individually. So we'd come to this page, every one of us teachers would come to this page. Oh, wait, I need to pick a course that I'm not really using yet. Let's see here. It would just start out as blank. And we would have to go in here and we would have to define how many results that we'd have. We'd have to edit each row. We'd have to pick the same color. We'd have to name it the same thing. We'd have to add the same value. And if you had 20 teachers doing this, including my colorblind friend across the hall, that poor guy didn't know what shade of green to pick. And I didn't realize that actually until helping him set up his grade book. I looked in here, I'm like, that's not green. He's like, I can't tell you the difference anyway. So what we did was we added this default results. So now we've got the link that says add default results. We can decide what this is from the office end. We can fill this in, and then all our teachers need to do is click this link right here, and it's going to populate our results right there. So very handy innovation. Amy, anything to add to that?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. Any questions coming in?
No questions.
All right. So with that, that's going to wrap us today. On to JMC news and upcoming events. We've got our webinar schedule for the remainder of November, and hard to believe we're already in December, and I should have known because it was spitting snow in my face as I was loading into our IASB trade show here. Tomorrow we've got JMC by the numbers led by Paul Freed, the one, the only. Then just before Thanksgiving features the JMC community you're thankful for. Rolling into December, we've got calculating semester grades in JMC Teacher, plus a sneak peek at JMC's general store portal, followed by the community messenger case study. That'll be myself and Lisa Daly on that on the 11th of December. So if you're curious to see what community messenger is and how it's being used in schools, check us out for that webinar. Speaking of community messenger, we're running a contest to get the word out about our brand new community messenger portal. Up for grabs is a communication strategy session with your team, led by the guy who literally wrote the book on human connection, Joe Beckman, followed by a community bonfire, which sounds like fun. Grab the contest details with this link right here. That'll be in the YouTube description, and it'll also be a part of the PDF that I'm going to send along to you after we're wrapped here. With JMC's teacher conference scheduler, you can block off time slots to give families an accurate view of your availability, taking the headache out of signups. Also include reporting on who has versus who hasn't attended conferences with a breakdown of percentages by teacher. If you want to watch that module in action, click that link there, head to our YouTube channel and check out our teacher conference scheduler, which you got a preview of just a second ago. There's an Iowa Association of School Boards convention on the 20th. Wait a minute, there is? Oh yes, I'm sitting here. There's also a state principals convention in Nebraska on the 4th of December, Slate in the Wisconsin Dells on the 9th of December, and the dates just keep coming. If you're attending, JMC trainers Paul and Jake would love to catch up with you at our booth. I have some cool swag for you. If you are at IASB, stop on by. Mention to me that you saw this video and I've got the hookup for you. Or you can watch our On the Road with JMC webinar, which was just done last week. So check that out on YouTube as well. Right now through March 2025, we'll give a $1,000 scholarship to your district for each school you refer to JMC that signs up for our software. And to top it off, our team will throw you a piping hot pizza party. If you have any questions, reach out to sales@jmcinc.com. Linda, Amy, we'll catch you here in a few. Linda, thank you for joining us. And to all of you, thank you for joining us for this week's weekly webinar, and we will catch you on the flip side.